to that is what we are. We are also a brand, right? So us as agents, and it's funny that you Dominic, you mentioned that right away, where you're like, oh, something about being dressed up, and I've uh, I take that as something that, yeah, like I'm looked at, so whether I'm here or whether I go to the supermarket, if you interact with somebody, if you're like, oh, I'm an agent, and you're kind of like with your, not saying that you can't never be that way, but I'm just saying you should be aware that you're projecting that at all times, right? And
That's very
especially
true.
when you want to get going, right? You want to be perceived a certain way, then you can be more, I guess, relaxed, or continue to be that way, whatever. But at the end of the day, um, it's how you feel comfortable, because you can be in that close, Dominic, and still do a Zoom, and still kind of project what you want, and it's if you're that person, you'll project that, right? But it just, again, more tools like in our belt. If you have a shirt, like, again, it's just kind of subconsciously, you're already like, boom, you have a different feeling. And I'm saying that you should wear that now because this is Zoom. I'm just saying these are other tools that I use for my value proposition when I come in as an agent, or when I talk to somebody. They might see that as well. They see a professional. Um, so, but before we start any of that, we had a great conversation yesterday at the ALC, which is the leadership group, of the company. And I think it's like ultra important to know what our one thing is. Um, why are you here? Why you even want to know about this value proposition, right? This is what should be um, getting you up in the morning, right? It should be what keeps you focused throughout, not today, but then tomorrow, or like, it's easy today, or when you're new and you're all excited and you're like, oh, I'm gonna do this. But like we mentioned, when it's July and it's like the pool is hot, it's nice to go. What keeps you moving, right? What keeps you motivated to saying, like, I haven't reached that goal, that's what I'm going. And and a lot of us is a number, right? It's like 100, 150, 200, whatever the case may be. It's usually a number. But what we were talking about yesterday, um, is for example, like, those numbers don't get usually your fire burn. Like, it doesn't give that fire feeling, like, doesn't get you going. It might for a little bit, but it doesn't like continue, because you get used to that number. Or if you start earning that, you start just adjusting things. So it's got to be something different. And just to give you an example, my thing was, when I got into the business, is to be my own boss, right? Everyone's like, I want my own hours and all these things. Um, and to not be reliant on somebody else, right? To earn an income. I think that's like one of our first goals of why we're getting into this business. And because it's unlimited, no one is telling me, hey, you're coming in here, this is your cap, this is what you're earning an hour. For me, that was a very disheartening way of going about life, of saying, like, well, this is what I'm going to earn, like, for the rest of my life. I couldn't, I couldn't just, I couldn't do it. So boom, that's why I entered this business, right? As it flows, you achieve that, where you're like, oh, before you know it, you're like, I'm kind of here, I guess, where I'm earning, I'm my own boss, and you just continue going, right? And that's why I said, what's the one thing that keeps you? Um, what is that one thing? Because for me, at first, was that, and so now I achieve that, and I can't use that anymore, right? Because it doesn't like really burn anymore. Like, I kind of have everything flowing, and so you need something else. And it was just to share it with you guys, like, my fiance, I would rather her stay home now, right? Of like, now taking care of the puppy and eventually start growing our family. So, like, when I was talking, it was James Shaw came into our, he's like an author, and like, he's actually the one thing that whoever has that, oh, Miss Kim Dietz. Um, so that I was like, all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, that's it right there. That's what will be my one thing of keeping my fire going, of like, that's what I want to accomplish as my next kind of goal, right? And that's why I want you guys to think about the same thing. Like, what is that one thing that is for I don't know, Dominic, it could be one. I'm not sure. To just think about that. Not, I'm not saying you have to think about that right now, but that should be your why you're here, and keep that in mind, and fresh, and plug it in. And it could be a car, or it could be that feeling you get because of that you always wanted that car, or whatever the case may be. But it should be something that just keeps that fire burning. And if it doesn't, just recognize it. Because I have a few things here, and it does. I see them, but it wasn't really burning. It doesn't like, yeah, like, yeah, that car's nice. It's like, but I like my car as well. So it doesn't work. So figure that out first and foremost, right? So why are we here? We're here to learn about a value proposition, right? What is a value proposition? Can anybody even tell me, or does anyone have an idea what a value proposition is?
What you bring to the table.
Okay. Who was that? It's just his iPhone.
Yeah, it's Jimmy Figueroa. Yeah.
Oh, Jimmy, nice. How are you, Jimmy? Yes, well. It is what you bring to the table. I like that. Anybody else? Like Dominic, for example, what
I was thinking, kind of like what you stand for, what you believe, and like what you project to like your customers, like what you want, maybe like your thing to be presented to them. Like, why would they book with? No, I'm not sorry. Why would they buy with you? Why would they work with you? You know what I mean? So
okay, right. I like it. Great, both great answers. So I want to define just a little bit of what value proposition is. It says a value proposition is like a simple statement that pretty much summarizes why a client or customer would choose your service, right? It communicates the clearest benefit that clients receive by giving you their business, by working with us, right? So every value proposition should speak to a customer's challenge, and like make a case of why you're the problem solver, why you should be the person they should do business with, right? So that's in a statement what a value proposition is. The way to break that down, I feel, is first and foremost, you need to know who your customer is, right? That's your first thing, because if your customer, for example, like you're saying, oh, my value proposition is I'm like the best tech person in the world, right? And you're dealing with somebody that's older, that barely uses email, it's not going to work, right? So your number one step is to know what your customer wants, right? What they deal with. So that's obviously takes asking questions and knowing. And like if it's someone in your database, it's a little easier, right? Because you know the person a little bit more. But that's the first thing. Secondly, understanding by asking the same questions what their problem is. Is it hey, I need to find a house now, or hey, my last agent never talked to me, or never like emailed me back, or figure out what that problem was, because that's obviously what you want to target your value proposition to be. And then obviously after that you find what the solution is, like what are your services going to do to solve that problem that they have. And ultimate, and then lastly is, how could that be somewhat, I guess, tested? And the way that you test it is by just doing what you say. So like the first couple things that will make you a better agent than like most of the people out there is just by communicating back with the client. Honestly, you just communicate clearly and timely with them. And then secondly, be on time. Like if you're those two things, if you do those two things, you're already ahead of a lot of the agents that are doing business out there, because for whatever reason, the communication aspect, or like they don't want to communicate because of whatever the case may be, there's a missing boat there, and missing link. So just doing those things, and again, and just doing what you say you're going to do, right? If you say, hey, I'm going to call you back at this, like you call them back, I'm telling you guys, they'll be like, oh my gosh, he called me back. Or it's just amazing how many times people don't get that call back, or just don't do what they're going to say they're going to do. It's amazing. Or, you know, I'll email you tomorrow, or I'll email you this afternoon, boom, and you get the email, just do what you're going to do. And that alone, guys, is a huge value proposition right there. So just using those things alone, say, hey, listen, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, again, when I say I'm going to call you back, I call you back. And those are for sure should be some of the things that when you talk to anybody, that should be in your value proposition. And obviously do it if you're going to say you're going to do those things, right? That I think those two things are absolutely key in our service that lacks a lot in our business. If you talk to a lot of people, why what's a big thing that why didn't they like their last agent is, they say, lack of communication. And so again, that's also needing to know about your customers. Do they want email? Do they want a phone? Do they like text? I have a client that loves what the WhatsApp. You know, he loves it. Doing him and his wife are a group there, and he talks to me through there, and he's the type that just likes to talk. So I know if I get on a phone with him, it's at least 15 minutes for sure, because he'll re-say what I just told him, and I'm like, yes, that's exactly what's going on. And it's just, I know that's his process. So that's what my value proposition is to him. And it's so funny that it's shown, because I've referred them to another agent in North Carolina. And like, for example, I don't know if the agent had a problem with WhatsApp, but she was like, well, why don't you just use the normal text? And it was like not a somewhat of a big deal for her, you know? And she's like, well, why is it a big deal? I'm like, I don't know why it's a big deal. So, but knowing, I know them, and it's like, they love this WhatsApp, you know? So I'm like, let's use this WhatsApp. Like, yeah, we'll use it, no problem. And just that alone, they seem to love that, right? And then they love to get my opinion on things, right? There's other people, and that's another thing about knowing your customer, about knowing, for example, like their personalities. Are they an A type? Are they a C type? Are they analytical, right? Are they more the social? Are they, how are you feeling about this? Where the A type or the D type wants to just kind of like, give me the raw numbers, just give it to me. And that's where you need to know that customer, because if you start saying, oh, well, I'm, going with the feeling with the D, you're going to clash with that person. You're like, well, this person just doesn't get to it. Or at the same token, if it's someone like that loves to chill and relax, well, let's talk about it, right? It's about the match in the mirror. Like, all of those things should be clear and aware with you guys at all times with anybody that you're talking to, because people like to do business with people like them, right? Believe it or not. So here's another thing, Dominic. Like, if I know I'm not going to be suited and booted if I'm going to like a certain type of property, or you know what I'm saying? Like there's a certain also way that I feel I'm not going to be with the suit when it's again a certain type of like family or property, just because even I feel uncomfortable. And so I try to suit in a way where it's professional, but again, not over the top, because I feel also people feel uncomfortable with that as well. So, but again, if you're going to a certain market, I feel that that's ultra important to be suited and booted if you're going to be dealing with someone's multi-million-dollar property.
Yeah, it's definitely very important to like mirror your customer. I like how you said that, like mirror them, like how they want to be, you know, like you kind of have to like treat them that way. Like, so
Yeah,
if they're like type A, they want numbers, be like that, direct, be more direct. But if someone's chill, like a Zoom meeting, be chill.
no, and it's again knowing your customer, more of a laid back guy, you know, is it an older person, is it a younger person, are they, you know, just who are they? And sometimes if you don't know, that's why you want to be somewhat in the middle, right? And as you start to get to know them a little bit, then you can maybe adjust that. But at the end of the day, guys, they really they don't it they most people don't care like how much as you know, as much as they need to know that you care. If they know that you care, and you're genuine, a lot of the time that's another part of, for example, of our should be our value proposition is, listen guys, I don't know everything about the business, but our managing broker Joe's been in the business for close to 30 years. If anything that I don't know, I go question him. I have a whole group of ALC members that are like the top 20% of representatives. We go talk to them as well. We're in a profit sharing type of environment where the more that we profit, we share in this. Oh, really? Yeah. Yes. For people, again, these are all the type of things that I would put in our tool belt and say, hey, this is what are like the different parts or the advantages of our office, and our team, that it's not like that in other companies, right? This is what makes us different. I use that a lot, right? And it all should lean on what you guys are, right? So the first, if you guys are somewhat new, one of my first I feel that it should be your local area. Why? Because you know where the grocery thing, you know where that park is, right? You already speaking about that local area, sounding like an expert, but you just live there. And then you throw a couple numbers at them regarding that area. Hey, the properties here in this area have gone up just 2%, blah, blah, blah. You just figure that out and boom, and you're an expert. You are a local expert because you live there, right? But now you have just that extra knowledge, and you throw a couple numbers on top of that local area. And that's it, guys. You're the leader, right? You'll start leading that conversation because you're the expert. And that would be my first like nugget for you guys. If anybody that's new, go to your local area. That should be what you guys should focus on, because you know it. Because a lot of the times, you know, when you start, you're kind of like all over the place, like I'll do business wherever, let's do it. Where it's like, where's your business? Like everywhere, you know, Illinois, let's, yeah. But again, you don't know that area, you know, and like if you go and do an open house, again, if you go do an open house in an area you don't know, people are like, oh, do you know Ash? Is this part of Ash Elementary? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, I'm not sure, you know. But if you know your area, be like, you know, no, this is this elementary school. This is for sure. Blah, blah, blah. Again, you could do other areas, but it just takes more time, and you're not as comfortable, especially if they tell you an intersection. You're like, oh, I'm not sure. Is it either? You know, I could just tell people because I'm in my area. I live here. You know the intersections. That's like you sound already like an expert because you are, and that's just something that I would definitely put in your guys' presentation, or whenever you guys are talking to your clients, is that question. What questions do you guys have? Because this is really, again, guys, this is more about you guys. That was just a somewhat of a really long one, intro of what I wanted to say. But again, this is really more about you guys, and any questions that you guys want to answer, or want to know. Please start shooting. Like Michelle, what was your goal of today, or what questions do you have?
It's kind of been, what's really cool about the Cappers crew is, like, every day we kind of um what is it, like, do some like affirmations. So for me, when, like, from everything that you're talking about, and like, you want your vibe attracts your tribe kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's like a really awesome quote that I got from the Cappers group. And I kind of struggle, because I know you guys are talking about, like, you want to reflect who you're working with.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But I also start, like, yes, like, obviously everybody wants to close $1 million homes, but then, like, sometimes, well, again, I'm projecting my feelings. So it's a lot of mindset. Everything that you're saying is kind of like, I'm always jumbled, and I'm trying to always work through that jumbledness. Because, like, when you think of, like, rich people, you think of snobs. At least I do. Okay, so I do, and I need to get rid of that, because not all rich people are snobs, let's be honest, right? But there's like a stigma there that, like, you have to present yourself, and, a little bit more, because you have more, you have more money. So if that's the case, sometimes I'm like, well, I just want to work with people. I want to work with people that just are looking to create memories in their homes, and, whatever. So it's like constantly, like, don't put this sticker on people you haven't even met.
Yeah.
And, don't limit yourself. So I agree with everything that you guys are saying. It's just always mindset. Like,
Well, here's one thing that I can right off the bat tell you, and is go and right after this, sign up for, like, family reunion. Okay.
I did.
Okay.
It's gonna be good.
Great.
I'm excited.
Great. Because here's the thing, guys. When like, the opportunities of when you're at this company, is you feel like, oh, I want to be an agent and sell millions of dollars. When you get into it and, like, really realize the endless opportunities that you have now that you are part of this company, is mind blowing, right? And you will find out, like, that things in family reunion. Secondly, what I was referring to, Michelle, is because people there, and when they say, like, they have teams, and, like, people, like, in the 100 millions and all, it's not like a model, or like a thing like that might happen. It's already happening, and it's like 10 times that, right? And that's when you start seeing, like, oh, sometimes when you're like, 100,000, 200, whatever your goal is, they make that in, like, a month, and it's mind blowing, the level that they're at, right? And then the type of people that you start meeting, and are know about, that will change your mindset real quick, Michelle, of that's not the case, right? That, unfortunately, one way or the other, sometimes that's kind of the stigma, whether it's like TV or what, it's a very unfortunate way. But or thinking, like, oh, the more money I have, the greedier I am. It's just not the case. The more money that you have, the more opportunities you can give people, right? Now that when you're working with more people and you're selling more homes, guess what? I was able to give more opportunities to painters that I know, right? I didn't do that the last few years before that. To cleaners, people
Mhm.
that clean houses, right? They like, I want them like, hey, come and and they're so grateful for this opportunity, right? That they want, people want to work, and you're able to give these opportunities to people, but you can't do that by not working or not not working with these quote unquote people, right? um, and and you'll figure out that, here's the thing, Michelle, the more you start working with anybody, you figure like that's like not the case. There's always going to be, whether it's rich, poor, young, or whatever, there's going to be that person that you don't want to work with.
Yeah.
It's really not about like the money. Sometimes it's about and you don't know, it could be any circumstances they're going through at that time. It's really difficult to put yourself in people's position, right? Like for example, um in traffic right now, like I rarely get road rage or anything if someone cuts me off, because like you just sometimes don't know, like what if they're super late for work, or what if, like, I don't know, there's like an emergency. You don't know why people are like acting erratic sometimes, but they just might be an asshole, or
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just I call them garbage men too. If there are people that are just angry, that just want to dump their garbage on you, like, no, not today, and it is about the mindset. And
Yeah.
again, at the end of all of it, Michelle, this is why I mentioned the most important thing is knowing what your one thing is and keeping that freaking fire burning. And that's why you're doing what you're doing and why you're here, right? Is should be that one thing. There's yeah, other things are in that list as well. But what is that one first thing that is why you're here, and why you have this thirst of knowledge and wanting to get better, right? So that's ultimately
Yeah.
I say is ultra important, right? So but then again, yeah, after that it is your mindset, because if you think a certain way, or um but and here's another thing that I would caution you to, because selling, for example, would you rather sell $1 million one, or two or three or four $200, 200,000 one? It's about that as well. And yeah, it is the same amount of work, if you think about that, but it's also about the rewarding things, and it's about helping families, and it's about that. So if you go with that mindset, is again knowing your customer, right? Like I said, figuring out what their problem is, and you being a problem solver. That's what we are. We're problem solvers. As you become agents, and you're in the business longer, all of us, that's what you are. This problem, and here you come to save the day of whatever the case may be. Um, Hey, an inspection comes up about this issue. They're asking about this. Okay, well, let me figure it out, guys. Let me review it. Right. So you're there always as a manager. You're always there just to smooth things out. Here's another part that I say about my value proposition is like, I'm here to make this transaction as smooth as possible. I'm the manager, right? This is why I'm here, to make your guys' job easier. At the end of the day, I say I'm the vice president of consultant. You are the president and CEO, CEO, president. Haha, you, the wife or whatever. You figure it out. You make a little joke about it. Ha ha ha. Right. But at the end of the day, that's what you are. You are like a vice president of this like consultant firm, and you have all this data. But you guys are the decision makers, right? I'm here to help you guys make a decision,
Yeah.
make it easier for you guys. And what's the solution? My solution is doing it, blah, 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 right? However the customer is and the problem is, and just guided towards that, right? But ultimately, again, it's about like Jane. Jane has been in the business for years, so one of her value propositions would be like, hey, I'm not some of these new bucks out here. that just came into the business. I've been here doing this 20 years, and I have the technology, and I have Joe that also been the business even longer than I have, right? So to each person, it should be tailored to what makes you the best person, right? Dominic, have you been in the business a while? Because I apologize, I don't know you.
No, 2 months. The real estate.
2 months. Okay, so
For my my value proposition would be something like the reason I jumped into real estate was just to like fully be like my own boss. So kind of like similar to you, like in the beginning. And I do have that mindset, like I'll help out anybody in Illinois, but
Yeah.
you're totally right. You have to focus on that actually, like certain towns and stuff. So I liked how you put that because
well, you're hungry. You're hungry. So
Sure.
right. So then if it was myself, I wouldn't mention that I just came into business for the first couple of months. And here's the thing, they won't ask if you project your professionalism. And again, the local area, they won't even ask. They'll ask later on, just maybe because they're curious. Oh, sometimes it feels like forever. Sometimes it feels like just yesterday, and then, but then if they push it, you just tell them, you know what, you tell them if they really, really push them, it's like, here's the thing. And again, but then you use that for your value proposition. Well, you know what? I'm not like the agents out there that have been in the business for a long time that have the deals. I'm so hungry. I'll be working your deal like it's no tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? You use that towards your advantage.
Yeah.
You don't understand. This is my deal. Like I'm living and breathing this thing, right? And that comes through, right? It's passion. Or as well as like, oh, I'm the cool guy. Yeah, I've sold $10 million here. And then like, you don't talk about communication or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's the difference, right? But if you come like, no, listen, I'm so hungry, and then right afterwards you send them like a flyer that you just created of their property or whatever the case may be, like, holy shit, this guy's hungry. And here's the thing, guys, like, can anybody tell me what you guys think is like the number one almost factor of like, because a lot of people say like, oh yeah, I'm hungry, but what do you guys feel is a factor that says that someone is hungry? Do you guys have
could I just say something, Cesar, for
Yeah, sure,
those new in
absolutely.
the business? In 27 years, nobody's ever asked me how many years I've had. Now, after 5 years, then I could say something, and now I definitely say something, but
Yeah.
it's in your actions, what you do, how confident. And at the beginning, they didn't have nearly the training they have now. And it just appearing confident, even if you're not.
Thank you, Jane. And there you go. There you go. I mean, and it's funny because when we first get into this, you feel like, oh my God, they're going to ask me any minute now but they really don't, because again, like Jane said, if you feel confident, and obviously if you talk about your neighborhood, you're going to be confident because you're like, hey, yeah, this person, and then you just know about then your little area, know about like, hey, yeah, 123 Main Street right over there. That one sold for 150 the last 2 months. Just know a little bit, and then know the stats, like what has been going in your area. Tom Brandt showed me, for example, like on the MLS, how, I don't know if you can still do it because it was like on the old classic way. And is that still accessible? Cool, I'm not sure. But anyways, a certain way where you figured out like stats, right? So like 2016 to 17 to 18, like where was the sales price going in that area, right? And he just boom busted out like the sheet, just printed out. Well, here's this one, here's this one, here's this one. Just doing that, you already knew you knew the area, right? Because you did your market research. And then again, as Jane said, then they won't even ask like how long you've been in the business, because people, again, they don't care. They don't care if you've been in it for like a year, 2 years. If you know what, again, do you know that you care and you sound like you're an expert, and you obviously sound, you're an expert. They don't care what and when you were. when you started working, or just because it just doesn't, like, you don't ask your mechanic or anything like that how long they've been doing engines or nothing like that, or like the people that cut your hair, or like, I don't know. I don't think it's more of, again, of a conversational piece, like afterwards, like after they know you, they're seeing like the fifth house. Oh, but how long have you been doing this? Blah, blah, blah. But a lot of times it doesn't, because it's more, especially about the house, is more about them, and that's what it's about, guys. It's not about you. It's what people a lot of times like, well, what's your opinion? They want to know your opinion, and it doesn't matter just a lot of the times, because it's not your house, right? There's been so many times I'm showing a house and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, they're not gonna like this one, like they're gonna hate it, and then they say somewhat like it. So it's crazy. You can't really understand what people like, and what they will like and what they won't like. Any other questions or any other comments that you guys have?
Cesar, I'd like to say something else.
Yeah.
For those, looking I don't think you're going to have to worry about experience. Now, here's what I got for Dean one time. He says, when you go on a listing presentation, or you go to the door with the possibility of one, even though you've done your market analysis and done your homework on that, but he says, I always memorize the top 3 closest to him. I memorize it. So when I'm just conversing, it sounds like, wow, I have a lot of experience. Look he knows this.
Yeah.
You memorize the 3 around them, then you sound experienced.
And that's a great point, Jane, because guess what? They will most likely know about them too, because it's right around them, and they've drove around and they've seen that sign or whatever. So a lot of the times, that's a great point, Jane. They'll know about those properties, and if they don't, you mention that to them. And if you don't, guys, everybody has access to, like, for example, HomeSnap, or even our KW app, where you can access those things really quickly and just show people, or as you're talking, or just do the research beforehand, obviously. But if you're somewhat in a bind, or like kind of showing a house and you want to just show quickly, use the tools that we have, right? Another value proposition that I use, for example, that we have is Keller Mortgage. I tell people, oh, by the way, by working with a Keller Williams agent, you're able to use Keller Mortgage. Great. Why would you want to use Keller Mortgage? Well, they waive the origination. Origination fee, and they waive, I believe, like processing and underwriting, something like that, which is like $600-700. And they give you $1,000 of closing for credit. Either for your closing costs, or to buy down your rate even further. Just another advantage that you have by working with the Keller Williams agent. Again, this is something like another tool that you have in your toolbox. That's like, and then you tell them, like, listen, if you have a bank, great. I just want to let you know the options that you have. That's why I'm here, right? Again, to make your decision easier and smoother. I also work with a so-and-so and so-and-so that's on my team. That should be another part of your value proposition, is the team that's not in our office, but like our outside team, our inspector team, our mortgage guy, our attorneys. These are people that you want, for sure, to know who you're doing business with, because that's a huge extension of you guys, right? Your loan officer, if they're not getting back to you on time, or if they say that a deal could get done and it doesn't get done, yeah, it's loan officer, but it's you as well. Like, they'll be a little pretty frustrated, right? Or same thing with an inspector. All of a sudden you give an inspector, and it's like the inspector that wants to spook or point every little thing out and spook your client. That's a problem. So this, again, should be another part of your value proposition, who you're working with. because yeah, things could go wrong, right? And you want, again, to eliminate any of those situations. Like, for example, I had my client who used an attorney, and then I'm like, he didn't want to use the last guy because he didn't communicate that well. Fine, I'm like, I have a couple other ones, and he's like, okay, cool, we'll use them. 2 weeks later, I get like a text from him from the WhatsApp, on the WhatsApp app, showing me 3 or 4 like letters that he got in the mail. One for like $100, one for like $200, and just like some publications, and saying, hey, what about these guys? You know. And I was like, oh gosh, and I just got on the phone. I explained to them, you can use them, but again, I know that I work with the guy that I work with is professional. He'll communicate with you when you talk to him. It's him. All these benefits, and again, because you don't know what these public like attorneys are like, or who they, you know, you just have no idea. And just, again, you're there to re-explain, like, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, do you really feel that saving $150 is worth doing the transaction? Again, another part of what we are, again, to make everything smoother, not to heighten things up, right? We should never also, for example, yeah, that agent never calls us back, or you know, or just kind of put a little salt in those wounds, like, because on their side, they're like, dang it, yeah, you know, just think about this, guys. I don't know if they mentioned this to you now, but buying this on a home is one of the top 5 stressful things you can do. So let's not. That's why I stress that, of saying we're gonna make this as smooth as possible, and you letting them know, for example, of whatever problems that they have. Like, listen, these problems could arise, but when they do, this is what we are going to do. A lot of the times, people just want to know what you're going to do, or what is the solution to the problem that they have, right? And you become geniuses when you're like, say, this might happen, and then boom, it starts to happen. Like, oh, Cesar said that, or Dominique said that, Jane said that. Oh my gosh, yeah, I remember. Hey guys, remember when I said this could happen? Right, it's happening. So that's all part of what is their problem, understanding the problem. Even, again, for example, in inspections, before the inspections, reiterating, listen, guys, the inspector is going to point everything out in this house. Be aware, right? Just remember, that's his job. That's what he's here to do. Then our job is to analyze and see what are the things that we didn't see when we put an offer on this house, right? Just because something's old, right, it doesn't mean that we can ask for something to be replaced. But what else, guys? What Michelle was? I know it was like probably the longest answer in the world for a comment and question that you had, but
No, I mean, Kim teaches us not to say that we're new, but and so I'm trying to keep that mentality. But like, when we're on these Zoom calls with, different people that we don't really see normally, like you, because I know in our group for the PC capper, like, we see each other every single day. So we kind of hear over and over and over, like, affirmations, and it keeps us going. But it's interesting to see other people's point of view that we don't really get to talk to that often. So I always tell Kim, it's like my mindset, I think, is the biggest thing that I struggle with, because it's
most people.
Yeah, well, hopefully not, right? Hopefully not a lot of people, but I guess, yeah, it is very common. But it's weird, because I was actually just talking to my other real estate friend yesterday. A lot of people don't understand the kind of life that realtors live, because it's so different than like a 9 to 5. It's like, you work, you hustle for your money, but then you're not always guaranteed, you know, the next month unless you keep hustling. When you have that 9 to 5, you get to clock in, you do your work, you come back, and it's guaranteed unless, you know, obviously you get fired or you quit or something. So we were talking, like, you know, with our family struggles too, and it adds to the pressure, because in my personal situation, it's we didn't really grow up around money, and so I feel like I'm kind of like traumatized with money. So whenever you guys are talking about, you know, like being the same with rich people versus poor people versus middle, you know, like the middle people, and you know, that's something I really have to work hard to keep up, just because of like growing up on the poorer side, you know, because when you grow up on the poorer side, it's like you push this idea on rich people, and that's not the case, you know. So when, I don't know, it's like this whole big like mind thing for me, that like just treat everybody the way you want to be treated, you know, put out the vibe that you want to attract, give it your all, and then just from there, you know, what is it? Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So I'm just trying to prepare myself for that opportunity as much as I can, and just keep the vibe going good.
Yeah. You
So
know,
I don't know. It's like, it's a
no,
lot of mindset.
and that's why I said most people, it is about the mindset, whether it's that mindset or whether it's, oh my gosh, what am I going to say when I get on this phone call, or I don't know what I'm talking about. And again, that's what I was stressing first and foremost, when it's something about like your local area. Um, and if not, then let's say you are at someone else's open house, or a different opportunity that you have, just find out about the area a little bit, you know, or just even talk about, for example, like our lore report. A lot of people think every agent is the same, right? But our lore report shows, it's like the language of real estate, that shows the numbers of why our office is beating our area and the MLS, right? It shows why we're more producing agents, why we get houses under contract. Again, that's something that then everybody can use. Like, this is why this is different. I'm different. We're part of a different group. Not every agent, not every company is the same. Guys, you're with Keller Williams. You're not with ABC company. Use that. Right? A lot of people are not even aware. Like, well, are you aware that we're the number one in agent count, sales volume, blah, blah, blah? Use those things. Like, if again, that's part of the value proposition of the company and the size. And even in the listing presentation, one of the old ones, it shows like all the countries that we're in. And again, it just shows the grandeur when people don't know why we're a privately owned company. Maybe that's why. Maybe because we don't advertise. We flood that in into Keller Mortgage, that gives the savings back to our clients. Why? Because some of our competitors were doing this, and we wanted to compete with them as well, and we're able to do it, so we can do it. Boom. Right. So everything that you can use, put it in your presentation when you're talking to people. Just think about those things, right? Because ultimately, again, this is part of why are people going to do business with you than with somebody else, right? And it's got to be you got to be confident with that. You got to give them, again, boom, couple 2, 3 bullet points right off the bat. Again, depending on if you obviously know your customer first, somewhat understand what the problem is, then solution. But if you don't, again, I just start speaking about that alone, again, about the main essentials, what we were talking about in the beginning, where we said, I call back when I told you to call back. When I say I'm going to do things, I do things. I'm on time, right? And I know the business. And I'm supported by Keller Williams, #1 agency in sales volume, my managing broker, 30 years. Like, again, all of these things, you can't trump like a lot of the profit share, what we talked about, right? That everybody wants to help everybody because we're in this profit sharing system. all of these things are basic that like should automatically be boom, it should be firing them off, right? And then if, as you know, the customer more, boom, again, for example, where my client wasn't very email savvy, or she couldn't even do DocuSign, right? So every time I had to I had to print it out, and thank gosh she lived in Park Ridge, just go and have her get it signed and bring it back. But again, that's if you know that customer, be like, listen, I'll you hate email, great, no problem. We'll print it out. I have paper. I love paper. We'll print out some paper for you, no problem. Right, so that's just those little things. Is you're like, oh wow, he's awesome with that. He's willing to do that. Yes, I'm willing to do that. Of course. This is like you're for example, for that lady, she wanted to buy a house because with her daughter, she don't want to rent anymore, and ultimately, that's about knowing your customer, right? Knowing, well, why, and also knowing their problem. Well, why are they buying, and then what's the problem? Why they're selling. And knowing that, guys, I mean, that's it's simple as that. But those should be the basic ones that should be in your arsenal, no matter what, because it's there, and use it. That's why you're with Keller Williams and you're not with. I mean, the reason that I first joined Keller Williams, because I know like they had, they said, oh, they trained well, right? But then coming to our office was a different feeling, right? Where Kim was super inviting, and the rest of the team was as well. So that's why I stayed, and I'm still here, right? Because you have this environment here that's not like a lot of offices. So what else, guys? Do you guys have anything else? Because again, this is about you guys. Mary Kay, did you have anything to add, or any comments?
Actually, yes. So I had a question on the vendors. I know our office has their own vendors. I also have a lot of friends that are in, different parts of contracting and stuff. Do you recommend using friends, not using friends?
What do you mean, like, when it comes to?
I mean, I know attorneys, I know builders, I know painters, I know.
Of course, Mary, again, this is your business, right? So ultimately, the office has these tools if you want to use them. Again, like Keller Mortgage, if you want to use it, something that's there for you. And I brag more about it than people have used it. But again, it's just like, it's like a tool that you want to have, that you're providing to your client. Not every real estate company has that, right? When we say, hey, we'll give you $1,000 for your closing costs. Do what you want with it. We're not going to charge you these fees. So I would still, again, a lot of times I say, and I have also Michelle that I work with from our office, because I mentioned her as well. Because at the same time, like, you want to give people some options as well, because you want to say, hey, just use this person. But if you say, listen, I work with this person, they're awesome, but I also have these other options for you. Again, that's what's separating you from the last agent, when they're like, oh, you're pre-approved yet? Or whatever, you have a pre-approval letter? Or whatever, I'm saying, they might come off that way, or just like, what, you don't have options? Because a lot of times people feel that even you're the mortgage person. Like, I'm meeting with someone tomorrow, and they're like, well, what paperwork should I bring? What documentation? I'm like, we're just meeting. I want to get to know you guys. I want you guys to get to know me. And they were adamant about seeing each other. I'm like, no problem. Let's go in the office, right? Because maybe at first this was cool, but oh yeah, we can meet but now people like almost sometimes want to turn around again. We're like, you know what? I want some face to face now. I want to see people how, and it's funny how this thing works, right? So, but again, that's knowing that customer. Maybe another customer's like, no way, I'm still afraid or whatever. So great, I could do Zoom. We'll do it virtually. Take me through your house, right? But again, it's about knowing the customer, number one. That's it. Like it, because your value proposition could be garbage if you don't really know your customer, unless you use those basic ones that I said. That I don't care who it is. That's a great value proposition right there without adding in anything else. But knowing your customer and adding those that custom tweak, that what they're looking for in their problem, that's really where they're going to be like, oh, okay, perfect, great, right? So no, yeah, Mary, well, please, the people that you know, and especially if you trust them, again, and that's part of you being a business owner. You are providing this that I was saying before, Michelle. You're providing these opportunities as being, holy, is it raining or snowing or both? Wow. Or at least here. It's that you're providing opportunities for other business owners, right? And that's like the what's the beautiful thing about here, that you can build your business, and before you know it, you continue to grow. And that's what should be another part of it, should be like adding fuel to our fires. We are business owners. We are right now controlling our destiny of what we want to do, and not ourselves, and then our eventually our families if we don't have any, and generations. That's what we're here to do. So great question, Mary. Yeah, please continue using the people that you know and trust, because ultimately they're representing you, right? If you're using somebody that you don't know, they say, well, for example, if you don't know how Frank does business or whatever, that reflects on you, because if again, knowing your customer, right? So any other questions or comments or ahas from today's
I did just want to make a comment to Michelle, because I love you, girl. Don't feel like, I guess one way to look at, the millionaire, I don't know if you've ever read The Millionaire Next Door. I mean, the guy that does your great book, read the book. I mean, literally the guy that works on your car could be a millionaire. The guy that's your landscaper could be a millionaire. You don't know who the millionaire is in your life, truly. I had next door neighbor that passed away. We wound up buying his house when he passed, and he had a bunch of papers in his garage, and they were bank statements, and guy was a multimillionaire. He was a hoarder, and you never would have. I mean, I don't want to go into his personal life, but you never would have known that he was who he was. So people surprise you, and I know my son plays hockey. I know lots. I know several millionaires, and they got there somehow.
Yeah.
You could be the next millionaire.
Yeah, great. I mean, great. Thank you for that. Joe just told me a story too, or one of his neighbors, older guy in the Plains, that he said, oh, he just mentioned a comment on how he was IBM or I forget what, some of the earlier Apple, I don't know, one of the big style, and that it was basically turned into millions by what the figures that he was saying, and just a normal guy lived down the street from him. And that's a great book, great point, Mary. Like usually that business owner that's hustling and bustling, that's who the millionaire is. A lot of the times the medical professional has a second house and has all these expenses, and they don't invest, and it's really from year to year, and it's just a lifestyle, right, that they live. And this was not like a hypothetical book from what I remember. It was just like a study that was done and real numbers, right? So Michelle, I have it. If you want to read it, I could, it's here. Please, like I said, because it's at the end of the day, it is about mindset, guys, and it's that's what will start changing your life. And ultimately as well is you guys have to change for your business to grow. Like you guys have to grow and be better people, and change your mindset before your business will ever grow. Like if you grow as a person, I 100% guarantee your business will grow with it. There's just there's no longer a doubt in my mind, guys. Like it's undeniable. So, your mindset is where it starts, though. How you think about things. Like you said, Michelle, you start attracting things or you start rejecting things, but that's taking it like a deeper level. But again, that's the beauty of, for example, if you guys haven't I wish Bold came back in person again, because I feel it's a lot more powerful. But the Bold that happens now is great as well. And that's a lot of it is just mindset, believe it or not, before any scripts or anything like that, is how you feel about things and how you think about things. Because a strong saying is like what you think about expands, right? So if you're constantly thinking about how much everything sucks, you seem to attract that one, or at least your mind is perceiving it how everything sucks. So I don't know, if you have a great deal and it goes under contract and you stub your toe, do you really care? Like, oh shit, I just want to order a contract. It's like or you got to close into that's the difference of a mindset, right? Or if you're saying everything sucks and you hit your toe, that toe hit is like 1,000 times worse. So just something as small as that, guys, is really what I want to kind of end with, because I don't know, unless you guys have anything else that you guys want to add. Yeah, those are the basic keys. Just to reiterate again, it's just to know your customer first and foremost, and understand what their problem is, because we're ultimately problem solvers. Provide a solution for them, and then what is the difference? Like, how is that different from anybody else's solution, right? And that's it, guys. I mean, that's and remember the basic ones using our Keller Williams, tag, and all of those tools, and then tailor it to Dominic, tailor it to Mary Kay, tailor it to Vanessa, tell it to what, or hey, you might be an excellent, Vanessa, you might be an excellent like at email, right? You might like type all these great emails. For example, like that's not my plus. I'd rather like kind of pick up the phone and like talk to you and tell you something about it really quick and hang up. Then some people like love or are way more proficient in email, and or can be detailed in an email, and people might love that, right? So that's it's all about tailoring it to you guys. What are you passionate about? Like, and like you said, Dominic, like I'm passionate about this, and that's a great thing that you mentioned, was of saying like I'm passionate and I'm doing this because of blah blah blah, right? People want to know that. People want to know like why you're doing this as well. Hey guys, I was in this crappier job before. I love what I do. This is my goal. I have a huge goal of taking my family to X, or taking this vacation, or you know what I'm saying. And people feel that. People like love that emotion. So saying, "Oh, I'm here and I sold this property here before for like there's nothing that ties to you, right? Or to them, or they don't care what you sold for Joe Schmo. Like, what are you gonna do for me, right? But when you tie into why you're here and like why you're doing this, you're like, oh man, that's why they do it in movies, guys. That's why they do like character development. So you buy into the movie. Like that's why you're like, oh, you care about the character of the mission that he's going through. You wouldn't do that if they don't like develop the character, right? So, anything else, guys? Leanne or Jimmy the Mac?
Just overall, developing a value piece, starting with yourself and what you're contributing to that client and all the resources and everything you want to do for them. So that's the first step that we need to work on, or that's important. Then after that, also talking about how, Keller Williams has all these tools and resources. And specifics, our market center and the people that we have around us gives us the tools, the resources, the education, the training to, make sure that we can deal with any situation, and, developing that into the value piece also. And all these just different things that we talked about today and how important they are to our value, to our clients, and how Keller Williams has helped us develop all these things through trainings and through resources and through all the tools that they offer also.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, absolutely, Jim. That's why we're here, guys. It's just to make to make everything easier for people. That's why they use us, as they want to know our knowledge. Yeah, that's great, guys. Thank you so much for participating today and attending. And if you guys have any questions, myself and I'm sure the rest of the ALC is always here to answer any questions. Feel free to text us. Feel free to call us and ask us questions. I know where a lot of the new guys are, and even for Leanne, for example, she's been in business for a long time. Like, ask her, like, her opinion about things, because she's going to know things that I don't know. It's not like I'm a super expert at all. But use the people that are around you, because they're always willing to help, always. And you might just get a different opinion or a different, like, a fresh idea that you might not have thought about, all the time. So, and it always gives you confidence, right? So if you're thinking a certain way, and then they reinforce it, you're like, all right, cool. I was just thinking that, but I wasn't sure. I do that with to ask Joe, I ask Nicole all the time. I'm like, I'm thinking this. I'm like, what? All right, cool. Just making sure. Because you don't remember. You just want to make sure that you're on the right track. So, thank you so much again, guys, for participating today. And anything that you guys need, we're here to help.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cesar. This was great.
Yeah, thank you, Cesar. I learned so much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Like I said, we're a phone call, text away, and if not, I pop in an office once in a while. But I have that little one right there that was like barking. So, the better.
Well, as punishment for her acting up so much, I think you need to bring her into the office for some therapy.
I do. As is about, she's not here, so I have to take her. In. So.
Excellent class. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kim.
Thanks, Cesar. Yeah, great class.
Thanks, Cesar. Appreciate it.
Kim was the one, for example, that that I first met with, like, in my real estate career. She took the phone call. She was just the same person she is today, with high energy. I went to 2 other places, didn't feel the same way. She followed up, because none of them followed up the next day, if not that day, I don't remember. And she's like, "What's up? Did you make a decision?" And I'm like, "You know what? I'm gonna go."
I don't think I said it quite like that, but okay.
Yeah, I'm paraphrasing. And then that was that, guys. And then I got in her PC program. She pushed, and then she's like, "Know your number." She did all the things that she's kind of like harping on you guys more, but probably more refined now.
Yes.
And just take that, and ultimately, like how she said, and I'm sure we'll continue to say, it's ultimately what you guys do. Like, she can only kind of show you to the door, but you guys have to walk through and do the rest of it, right? And it's simple, but it's not easy, right? You keep hearing that it's like a simple step, but it's like, but once you do it, it's like second nature. And then before you know it, again, you just pick up a phone and you just talk to people, or when you get on a phone call, it's so quick, and you only have those first 4 or 5 seconds, right? When you get on the phone, or when you first talk to somebody, to like, excuse me, yeah, boom, you're done. If you're like, "Hey, my name is Cesar DeSouza. I'm here. This is the reason I'm calling. By the way, bro, it comes different." And then you only have those first 4, like the elevator speeches, they call it, right? So that's what Kim projected, is what I'm trying to say. And that's what you guys will project as well if you continue on with her teachings.
And guys, don't overthink things. That's the biggest thing that's going to be holding you back, is when you think you have to know it all. It's all about you. It's like Cesar has mentioned time and time again, it's not about you. Don't assume you know what other people are thinking before you've had the opportunity to have a conversation. Identify what's most important to them and deliver that at a high level. And that's all it's about. It's about, the people. So, don't overthink it. Go out there and have fun with it, and hold yourself accountable to doing everything you need to do to help as many people as possible. When you help them and guide them and do everything that Cesar has mentioned to you in this class today, what you are looking to earn and gain in your business will automatically come.
Yeah.
You guys are excellent. Keep it up.
Just to tell you, like my first showing whatsoever, I didn't know, like I had a Century card, the thing. I had no idea how to activate it. I'm there, like I'm using the card, doing the app, and I'm like, you know what, guys, we have to meet me here again because this is not working. Like something is malfunctioning. I forget what. Well, I'm like, I had to meet the person again. So it's just these things. Don't overthink them. Things are gonna happen. You're gonna mess up about things. You're gonna probably say the wrong thing. You know what? I said this. I'm sorry. I was incorrect. This is actually the right thing. Whatever. But just own it, right? And say, hey, listen, I'm gonna make mistakes. This might happen, but I have a team behind. The same thing what we talked about before, right? Anything that I don't know, I'm gonna find out for you guys. Or excellent question. You know what? I don't know. I'll be honest with you. No idea. But let me find out for you. I'll get back to you this afternoon with that, with that response. Because we don't know, like we're not also home experts. Don't pretend to be a home expert either. We're like, oh yeah, this is 1930. No, you don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'll find out.
We got to be transparent.
Yes, and that comes through. That comes through, Vanessa, better than you saying that window is whatever brand. What, I'm not sure. I'll call the agent and see what we can find out. But yeah.
Be yourself.
Yes.
Many of you have heard that advice from me. Don't be something you're not, and be yourself, and be genuine, and be a good listener. And you're excellent job, guys. You're gonna do fine.
Yeah. And then again, it's kudos to you that you're here. Like I tell everybody that you're here wanting to learn and wanting to do and be a better agent, a better person, and continuing to want to improve yourself. Again, kudos to that, because people seem to just not want to, or just seem like they know what they want and just don't want to improve themselves. So, but ultimately, like is I'm sure as Kim has mentioned this to you, is about the activities, about what you guys do, because it's that's like other part, right? You need to learn, but also like, okay, the more the activity is worth, let's say like 2-3 times more than what you learn, right? Because like the experience of it is so valuable. I could talk to you until I'm blue about like door knocking, for example. But there's nothing like that. You going up to that door and experiencing a few encounters of what that takes, and like, body language and things of that nature. And after a while, it's like, oh, it sounds scary, but it's honestly rewarding when when it's like your neighborhood and you kind of know the people and they start knowing you. But yeah, guys, it's ultimately don't overdo it, don't overcomplicate it. Know those things. Kudos to you for being here. And like I said, continuing to do the work that you're doing, and before you know it, you'll be teaching these classes, and they'll be asking you guys to do the same, because again, I can't believe that I'm doing it, when that I'm in this position, when I feel not that long ago I was like first learning, and we didn't have these Zoom things before. Like maybe we had the ability to do them, but they were more in class and they were just different. So now anybody can plug in, learn a little bit. They're recorded. We continue to improve as agents, as an office, and take advantage of that. So Like I said, thank you guys. If you guys have anything else, we're here to help.
Fantastic. Thank you, Cesar. Excellent job.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you so much.
Guys.
Cesar.
Yeah, thank you guys.
As well for putting this together.
All right. Everyone have a good day. The recording's going to
Thank
be.
Have a good day.
Have a good day,
Thanks.
everybody.
Bye, guys.